How common and dangerous are stowaways on airplanes? Hi, I'm Morgan, and this is an aviation safety update. Wyclef Florizard, 27 years old, of Texas, was issued a felony conviction out of Salt Lake City, Utah in May of this year for being a stowaway on a Delta Airlines flight. Although this method of being a stowaway is far less common, he hid in a lavatory during a flight to Austin, Texas from Salt Lake City International Airport in 2024. This particular passenger tried to get on flight 1683. From what I understand, he was traveling on a buddy pass, which meant he would only get a seat if there were seats available, and there were no seats available. And so what he did was scan the boarding passes of other passengers who were waiting in the boarding area with his phone using the camera and used that to board the plane. He then hid inside of the bathroom on the plane prior to takeoff. He was confronted by the flight crew, and this is something that people should remember if you are able to somehow get past the system, because there are protections in place. So once a boarding pass is scanned, my understanding is that it cannot be scanned again. So if you take a photo of someone else's boarding pass, when they get up to the gate to board the plane and try to scan it, it's going to show they're already on it. They will figure out that something is up and they will look for what caused this issue. But another thing that happens that protects things like this, like an onboard stowaway, would be that the flight attendants check the bathrooms prior to takeoff to ensure that everything's in place, safety checks, and to make sure all passengers are seated. But passengers don't always attempt to get directly into the cabin of the plane, and at times they find other ways to stow themselves away in outside exterior parts of the plane. The article that I just showed a photo of from AP News cited 2 stowaways that were arrested on different flights in November and December of 2024. And there were also other incidents where bodies have been found after people attempt to stow themselves away, such as this JetBlue flight where post-flight at the Fort Lauderdale Airport in Florida, 2 dead bodies were found in the landing gear compartment of a plane. This plane was not coming from outside of the U.S. It was coming from JFK in New York, and it landed shortly after 11 p.m. in Fort Lauderdale. They were able to identify the 2 bodies that they found in the landing gear compartment. But that happens more frequently than some people may be comfortable with. So a dead body was found in a wheel well of a United plane that was traveling from Chicago to Maui. That plane was a 787, once again traveling from Chicago to Maui. And after it landed, they discovered that there was a dead body in the wheel well of this flight. And a stowaway was also found dead in the landing gear of an American Airlines flight in Charlotte. This flight was coming from outside of the U.S. It was coming from Europe, and they discovered it shortly after 9 a.m. Although they are rare in terms of number of takeoffs and landings, it still does happen on occasion. And the article that was speaking about the dead body that was found in the landing gear in Charlotte cited a 13-year-old boy the week prior, so this is in September of this year, survived a 90-minute flight from Kabul to Delhi, and he had gotten into the plane's landing gear compartment, and he was then repatriated back to Afghanistan, where he came from. In all cases, it's very dangerous, even if you make it into the cabin of a plane, such as the person who did and was issued a felony conviction, because it becomes quite expensive. Your fee and fine for getting onto a plane you don't belong on is going to be a lot higher than you think it is. And that is for the cases where it ends well for the person who becomes a stowaway. But how often do they survive, and how often does it happen? This article from the BBC states that between January 2004 and March 2015, 6 stowaways were found on aircrafts at UK airports. This article also cites figures from the United States. So between 1947 and 2012, there were 96 people who were stowaways on planes in the US, and those 96 people were stowaways on 85 flights. So you do the math, some of those would have included 2 people becoming stowaways on 1 flight. Here are some of the details of some of those numbers that I cited before, but some of them not, because the UK numbers started in 2004 and this is from 2001. The body of a 21-year-old from Pakistan was found in a car park of a branch of home base in Richmond near the Heathrow Airport. 4 years earlier, another stowaway fell from a plane onto a gasworks near the store. So those 2 are instances where someone was a stowaway on a plane and at some point the body fell out of the plane. 2007, a body was found in the landing gear of a British Airways flight. 2012, a body was found in the undercarriage of a plane at Heathrow after a flight from Cape Town. And the following month, a person from Mozambique was found in the street of West London, and he died from multiple injuries after falling from a plane that was traveling from Angola. In the instances where people do survive these and they are in a compartment that is outside of the plane, they are typically very short flights. In 2010, a 20-year-old Romanian survived inside of a wheel bay after a flight from Vienna landed at Heathrow. And it is good to note that this plane stayed under 25,000 feet because of bad weather, and that would have contributed to his ability to survive in an exterior portion of the plane. Of the cases that were cited by the FAA in the US, I believe 96 cases, 23, about 1 in 4, survived their journeys. And this down here also cites in 1969, a 22-year-old managed to survive a flight from Havana to Madrid, and he suffered from frostbite, but nothing else that caused major damage. Also in 1996, a 23-year-old was able to stay alive during a 10-hour flight from Delhi to London, but his brother, who was also a stowaway on that flight, died after falling out of the aircraft as it approached Heathrow. And there are more. In 2000, someone survived a 4,000-mile journey on a 747 from Tahiti to Los Angeles. In 2002, someone survived a 4-hour flight from Cuba to Montreal, Canada. In 2014, a 15-year-old stowed away on a Boeing 767 survived from San Jose, California to Maui, Hawaii. Those individual cases are quite rare, so there are very serious risks associated with being a stowaway on a plane. Those risks include being crushed when the landing gear retracts, falling out of the plane, frostbite, hearing loss, tinnitus, acidosis, which is a buildup of acid in body fluids, which can cause a coma or death. And the temperatures can get as low as negative 81 degrees Fahrenheit, which is negative 63 Celsius, which causes hypothermia. And in the case where I cited that someone survived a flight and it never went over 25,000 feet and how that could have contributed to his survival, at 18,000 feet, hypoxia sets in, where the whole body or parts of the body are deprived of an adequate supply of oxygen to keep you living. It causes weakness, tremors, lightheadedness, and eyesight problems. And this is why some people fall out of planes. I believe I cited 3 cases in London where people fell out during landing, and the compartment doors reopened a few thousand feet before you land, and that can cause stowaways to fall to their death. This video went a little longer than I intended, so I will follow up with a part 2 to continue on this topic.